It's all good. We're here. All right. I need your guys' honest answers for a question I have.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Are you guys actually going to watch the Oscars?
I don't have anything better to do tonight.
So here's the thing, Jake.
Yeah.
As a content creator,
no sentence should start with "as a content creator."
As a full-time content creator who just happens to work a 40-hour-a-week job on the side,
right?
Yeah.
That grind, that grustle never stops.
Constantly fucking grustling. I've got to, I don't know, live tweet something, right? Like,
The Last of Us finale's also tonight.
That's true. I kind of like the idea of all three of us chaotically utilizing our social media like a little game for the audience. Like, oh, Jake's probably live tweeting the Last of Us finale, spoilers on main, and then it's like, who the hell is... I don't know, some kind of bullshit
honestly,
about the Oscars.
Even this recording aside, I think we all should live tweet the Oscars at the same time. And then they need to find out who did it.
Oh, they have to guess which of us tweeted from the Tough Cut?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would
Which
be really
is my
funny.
favorite game, too, because sometimes I can't tell. I really can't. And I used to think I was the only one who had the logins, but I know that's not true anymore. So
my favorite was... we're super off topic, but it's fine. This is the intro. You might be really confused, audience.
It's fine.
Whatever. My favorite was
it's the Oscars.
The three of us were physically together the one time, and then Jake just pulls the three of us together, and he's like, "Who just sent this tweet?"
I was scared, honestly. I was like, did one of them hire like a ghostwriter? Did one of them like...
Yeah, there was a professional ghostwriter behind the fucking Arnuki Beast tweet. Like, what?
Our intern,
which if you don't understand the lore behind that, go listen to Scooby-Doo Bracket.
It's pretty great. What even are they listening to right now? Imagine if they're... I hope this is someone's first episode. I hope.
Statistically, it might be.
I feel like
people start with episode 2.
Of any bracket, I feel like the Oscars bracket is probably the most likely where someone will just like, oh yeah, this is the most recent episode. And it's
That's
the
true.
Oscars.
I guess you don't need to listen to the first episode of this bracket to understand the whole bracket.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true.
1 second, pull my sweatshirt off.
Oh, okay. So he's getting naked. Audience, you can't see it.
Matt has whipped his dick out.
Well, no, it's... Is that his
Never mind.
penis?
That was arm.
Okay,
that was just an arm.
Yeah. We get confused often.
I mean, they're about the same size. What are we talking about?
Whoa, hey, whoa. Hey. Wow, no one's going to guess what this podcast is. Are we like Rogan guys? Sorry. Are we like, you know?
This is not just a dude's podcast. Hello and welcome back. We're the Tough Cut Podcast, and I'm Matthew.
I'm Alex, and I am not just a dude.
I'm Jakers. See, that should show you that this isn't just a dude podcast.
No. God, no. Please, God, no. And this is episode 98, part 2 of our Oscars 2023 bracket.
Wait, 98? Wow, the end of this bracket is 100?
Yo!
Yeah, so we're going to have to do a real special episode.
Couldn't have written it better ourselves.
No wonder we filled up with all those bonus episodes.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah.
So, that's
why. We're talking about the Oscars. They're happening. We're recording this before the Oscars happen, but we already know all the answers.
You sound so excited about it. See, this is why I asked if you guys were watching the Oscars. Because, we got to build some kind of authority here.
Why do you think since the start I've been saying we're the third best movie podcast? And the third biggest award show in Hollywood.
It's true. And you still have yet to fully answer me whenever I ask for the others.
Anyway, so coming at you in today's episode, we've got Barbarian versus RRR. And then in the second half of the ep, we've got Morbius versus Bullet Train.
Hell yeah.
What did the Oscars miss? According to the Tough Cut, Morbius and Bullet Train.
Sometimes I wonder if I should be putting my name on this project.
And we'll finally answer the murder mystery we set last week. Who put Morbius in the goddamn bracket?
Who did it?
Who did it?
My eyes are still on Darren, our intern.
I think that I know.
I think I know too.
I see now with you guys saying it like that, I feel like I less know. So they collude against me, I swear. Spoiler warning, these movies are going to be spoiled for you. And honestly, usually I say, oh, I really care about, watching the movies beforehand and not getting spoiled. But it's okay if you don't watch Morbius before this.
Wow, Jake really coming out the gate. We're not even in that.
I'm not saying my opinion. I could still have loved it. But I'm just saying, for the first time, I just genuinely believe that you don't have to watch this movie to fully experience this movie. But we'll explain that a little later.
I think they also, we don't need to. I was going to go in like deep podcast lore and be like, you also don't need to watch There's Something About Mary, but
you really don't. We gotta pull out all the stops. It's the Oscars.
Yeah,
Oscars.
We just keep referencing.
I mean, look, the Oscars do it. The Oscars do it all the time. They're just like, this is the 95th, anniversary. Let's celebrate cinema or whatever.
God,
what if we did
smart.
like an edit of like our best moments and be like, this is the 100th episode, and we like give our clips,
Yeah, we do a clips show. I'm sure the audience will love our 100th episode extravaganzas.
Yeah, they'll realize we like always record nude, and then like it's gonna feel very different when they listen to us. They're gonna be like, are they naked right now?
Everyone's favorite episode of their favorite show, internet series, etc., is the clips show episode. God, you keep. Anyway, we're 6 minutes in. We gotta pick up the pace here.
Well, okay. Also, in a serious note, content warning: if you're gonna watch Barbarian, there is heavily implied sexual assault that takes place. So, if you are particularly averse to that, please keep that in mind and take care of yourself while listening. But yeah, I'm ready to get into our first matchup.
Jake, do you want to go ahead and introduce Barbarian?
No, you can go first.
Okay. So RRR released in 2022, directed by SS Rajamouli. It is the stories of Beam and Ram, two technically real people that have been heavily fictionalized for what is a true modern day epic. As essentially they team up, they form in very likely friendship, team up to fight back the British. This movie is very long, has twists and turns, has epic battle scenes, 360 somewhat scoped British governors. It's wild. There literally are very few things you can say to properly describe the experience of watching this film. I love this movie very, very dearly. And unfortunately, it's not the first time we're talking about it on the podcast because Jake's a dirty little grimy dude.
Yeah.
I told him, hey, I'm going to put RRR in the Oscars bracket this year. Lo and behold, we're putting together the list for the long movies bracket like a day later. And he's like, oh yeah, RRR.
It's a long movie. You literally, in your description, were like, this movie's long. Obviously, I'm going to put it in the long bracket. You snooze, you lose.
That's true.
What did you pitch for the long movies, huh?
Mm-hmm. Good movies.
Good movies.
Lord of the Rings. It is the teaming up of a major Indian director and two leading Indian action stars in the Telugu region, and it is just such a good time. So don't need to kind of drone on with that any longer. Super snubbed in the actual Oscars. Ideally, Natu will win, and it'll at least get something.
I'm so excited to watch that performance.
It's gonna be so good.
Such a good time. I hope everyone goes on stage. I hope it just gets flooded, and they actually decide who wins the Oscars by who's the last one standing. That would be fun, right?
That would be
spice it up.
Fun.
Let's spice it up. And with that, I think Elvis might win.
With that, your guys' reactions. I know, again, we've already talked about this movie.
Yeah, we've already talked about RRR.
We've talked about it a
masterpiece.
bunch.
I mean, like it won our long bracket. Spoilers, I guess, for our long bracket, but did it? Now I'm confused. Matthew looked at me as if I was silly.
It was up against Lord of the Rings at the end, wasn't it?
Oh no, it didn't win.
Spoilers.
Yeah, I think I think,
or it did win. See, now the audience doesn't know.
No,
Spoilers.
I think Return of the King. I don't know.
And
I'll cut this
regardless,
probably.
unimportant. It's a great movie.
Unimportant. I love the movie. I literally was finally able to show my friend Katie the movie. She finally watched it yesterday for the first time, and she was like, Jesus Christ, like I could not stop laughing. I was like, big shit-eating grin all over my face. Like, such a good movie to show people if they are down for the ride. And it is a ride. I love it.
It's great. It is a phenomenal movie. It's so good. Watching it with someone else is incredible. I will say, development from since we last talked about it, my brother tweeted about how good it is, and he got replies from a bunch of like Indian nationalist Twitter accounts because it's like like at the end of the movie they have that whole song during the credits and stuff. Apparently, like that was kind of intense for him. But yeah, great movie.
Did he delete the tweet?
I think he did delete his tweet.
See, I'm getting deja vu. This has happened before, right?
No, so it did happen. It happened when we were first talking about this movie, but I didn't bring it up on the podcast.
Okay.
Well,
yeah, that sucks. That sucks.
Yeah.
But now we're warning our little tough cuties or our toughies, or nasties. Don't tweet about this movie, I guess. Okay.
I mean, contextually, I don't know what was said.
What if he was spouting some shit? What if your brother was really sprouting some absolute?
It was really fucked up when they killed that governor. That British governor did
Why
nothing
weren't there
wrong.
more white people in the movie? I don't.
To murder a public official without due process?
Okay. We all love this movie. It's great. I'm so sorry to your brother. Jake, do you want to go ahead and introduce Barbarian?
I really do. I really, really do. I'm so excited about this one, guys. Barbarian. It is directed by Zach Krieger. He, wild, wonky man. This is a movie about a young woman who discovers that her Airbnb or rental home she booked is already occupied by a stranger. Against her better judgment, she decides to spend the night, but soon discovers there's a lot more to fear than this unexpected house guest. This movie's so fun to me. This is like probably one of the, I think the most fun I had with a horror movie last year, if memory serves. I have to include a horror movie inside. I could have done Nope, but Nope did get, a couple nominations, while Barbarian did not get any. And I think this movie is so good and so surprising, especially if you know nothing into it. This was like an impulse watch on my end, who actually my friend Katie, we actually watched together as well. So this is the Katie matchup in my head. But I just had so much fun with this. It was great to watch it in a theater. It was great to watch it with like an interactive audience. And I just love talking about horror, especially when it's like fun and like wild. I can get into details about what I liked about it, but that'll get into spoilers and also like in the matchup itself. But I'm just very, very excited to force my friends to watch movies that I saw and really had a fun time with. So without further ado, I'd love to hear what you think about it, Alex.
Yeah. You guys know me. Historically, big scaredy cat, not always the biggest fan of horror.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this movie was very, very good. I was very scared by it. But, okay. Prefacing that with, this is the type of horror that has always scared me the most, where it's like,
my bad.
Oh shit, like it's just real people. Like it's just people doing the thing. And like, so...
It's just people doing the thing?
No.
Yeah,
Let him cook.
It's just people doing the thing. Like, obviously, it's like a little monster guy. Like, it's a little monster. But she's just people. Like, she's awful.
Yes. I too
she's
like
people.
The social horror of potentially running into the super strength monster woman at the grocery store.
I love
it's like
Bobby Milker woman. Leave her alone.
For me, the idea of like, okay, it's It's the idea that like you move into a house and there's like a creepy thing, like there's someone living in the walls,
Yes.
and it's like there's a person in my house.
No, that is
that's fair.
terrifying.
That is very scary.
Like that to me is incredibly scary.
But
the idea.
I think that's why, not to like, jump my own gun about my opinion about this movie, but that's why I love the movie so much, because it starts with such a real fear, and you're built up this fear. Billy Skarsgård, great casting, because he's a creepy dude, but he's so charming in this movie too. So it's just like, I don't want to trust him. He's so charming, and then it flips it completely on its head, and it's so fun.
It's
but,
a really good twist. It's really good. And I think like I was very scared of it, but I think like at the end, I think the part where it turns for me is when she gets hit by the car. That for me is where it was like, okay, now I can just have fun with this movie.
Yeah, it's a good time.
And oh man, I don't want to spoil it, but like there's something so beautiful about Scary Mommy Milky Lady gets hit by the car by Tess.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, at the end, still jumps off the roof. Ugh.
The roof
That's
scene where
like...
titties are flying everywhere. And it was insane to watch on a big screen. I was so excited. Anyway, I wish it was 3D.
I was spooky scared, but I had a good time. Now, what about you?
Yeah, so jumping in. As soon as Jake saw this, basically, he recommended it to me. I very irresponsibly didn't watch it until now. This movie was a great time.
Yeah.
I super, super enjoyed it. I think the first 40-ish minutes are absurdly effective.
Yeah.
The use of typecasting Bill Skarsgård, who was Pennywise in It. So that is chiefly what a lot of people know him for. I very intentionally did that.
Yeah. Skarsgårds are scary, weird dudes.
I want to hang out with them.
I
want to hang out with all of them.
They're like one of my favorite families in Hollywood. I fucking love them.
It's just so effective in tricking you into thinking this movie's going to be one thing. But it is very, very different. That first 40 minutes before we jump to Justin Long,
wild.
He's so good in this movie.
And his character AJ, ending with, again, spoilers, the very graphic killing of Bill Skarsgård is incredible. Wow. And then
so powerful.
Jumping to Justin Long, who's typically kind of a goofy guy in the movies he's in, and he is just playing an unrepentant asshole.
Mm-hmm.
And he is so funny. It is so good to watch him get his comeuppance in the end.
It's so good.
It's so good.
He kills that role so completely, so totally.
Mm-hmm.
And the movie's deceptively really, really smart in terms of its filming and its editing. The approach into the basement, how the camera frames Tess versus AJ is so wildly different and so smart.
So cool.
It is so much more claustrophobic with Tess because it's inherently a much more frightening contextual experience.
Scary. She has stuff to be scared about. She's a woman alone.
Exactly.
It's so smart. So good.
There is, I think, a huge piece of that is this angle of gender in horror. Men are dumb.
Especially this white man who's abusive and awful.
Exactly.
He has nothing to fear, even though he's literally just
I think that is so intentional.
Hollywood. Yeah.
I think that is so intentional.
Smart. It's so smart that in the middle of that scene where he's investigating the secret room in the basement, it cuts to him and he's on Google and he's can you list unfinished basements as square footage? That's so funny. That's so good. It cuts the tension.
The
in such
square
a good,
footage is
way.
The scene where I've not often in the horror movies for this one of my favorite things about it is not often in a trope when you're watching a movie do you actively scream for the person to go in to the place. Go in already. Go in the dark, spooky place. He keeps backing up. He keeps measuring with the stick. He goes back up. He's square footage. No, go the fuck inside. Go into the dark cave. You're shouting for him to go into the spooky place where it's spooky already because he's just I love it. I love it. It's so well done. And it's so funny. Justin Long's a scream queen at this point. He stars in such great horror movies, and it's great. It's great. I love him.
Yeah, no, he absolutely kills this role. Yeah. So with that said, after we have gushed a little bit about both of these movies, where do we take this in comparison? I think
Well,
is
okay,
Go for it.
so I have two things. One, I genuinely believe these are both very fun movies. And the way they handle their fun is different, but I think something like to note about them that I really liked is how they both like build up. Because RRR, and especially when we were first watching it and first talking about it, we talked about how RRR just continues. Like, we did not know how it was going to one up
Keeps
itself
escalating.
every single time. You cannot believe how it escalates. Where in Barbarian, it continuously escalates, but by like de-escalating you back. You have those first 40 minutes, and then you have the surprise, like, oh shit, Bill Skarsgård died. I don't know where the fuck this is going. And then instead of like staying there in the scary place, we fucking cut to Justin Long. But then it does it again, where you get the backstory of like Mommy Milkers and the guy like in the underground, and all of a sudden it's this serial killer thing where like it's the grocery store and it's a very
Jake,
real...
I have to cut you off. Okay.
Yeah.
Is the character's name actually Mommy Milkers, or are you just saying that?
No one Google me. No one Google me.
to throw it out there, I believe the character is technically listed as mommy.
Yeah, I think
or mother. I think it may be mother.
Yeah, but Matthew sees mother and he reads mommy. So
Mommy.
unpack that one, Freud.
Yeah, the mother, played by Matthew Patrick Davis. It's his only role.
Okay, they should put that guy on a list. They should definitely. No, I just feel like that's also really like it's so purposeful, and I think the filmmaking in both of these is so purposeful in how they're ramping up. And for me, I was just really, really impressed by Barbarian for like a horror movie that was trying to, break a mold of like how do you continuously make horror unexpected, because that's what people are like wanting to watch it for. So I give a lot of credit for it being a genre film and still breaking the mold in those ways and being very, very... It's still a funny movie. It's not like any kind of like, it doesn't feel serious and scary all the time. But it still ramps in this like beautiful way, and it's very well said. And RR, it's the same. Like, I cannot believe how this movie ramps. I cannot believe it. If you would have told me an hour or 2 hours in, there'd be one of the best piggyback rides I've ever seen on film.
With a man holding 2 rifles, just fucking blasting English colonizers.
Holy shit. I'm inspired. I don't know. It's really tough for me because I just had so much fun with both these movies. Like, so much fun.
Well, and I think there's something really interesting too to talk about the tension in RRR of like these guys, like they're hunting each other, but they're like best friends and they don't know it. Like, that's such a good tension building point.
Yeah.
Their friendship is truly something beautiful. What do you think happens if those guys are like on vacation?
Yeah,
they're
classic tough cut moment.
They're on vacation in Michigan. They're like visiting Detroit. They got an Airbnb.
This man.
They're staying in Mommy Milker's house.
Oh yeah. And Billy
what
Skarsgård's there. Hell yeah.
Yeah, Billy Skarsgård. He's
walk
there,
in.
and he's like, "Oh, I rented this Airbnb," and they're like, "It's okay, we'll share." All 3 of them are in the house. What happens?
Honestly, I think they save Bill Skarsgård's life. I think they do what Tess could not.
I think Mommy Milkers might be the one to dominate them. I'll be honest with you. I think that, after years of evolution, you may think peak performance is, RRR and those brothers, but nah, it might be Mommy Milkers.
Okay, I'm gonna unpack that a little bit, Jake.
Not the actual how she gets made and all that. Like, let's not talk about like the inbreeding and the none of that.
Okay,
but I'm saying
that's
if Mommy
not how
Milkers just was
you
like
evolve
born,
humanity.
You don't want to get into the Americas how it's made of Mommy Milkers.
No, like please. I'm trying to make Mommy Milkers into the icon that she deserves because she didn't ask to be made the way she is.
That's true. That's true.
She did not ask. So I would just like to lift her up rather than knock her down for something that was out of her control.
That's fair, honestly.
She just wants to be a
It's a
mom.
gross ass scene when she first feeds the milk to Jesus Christ.
Yeah, just holding the milk bottle down.
Wow. There's a bit of little hair sticking down from that.
Yeah, the hair was fine for me.
Honestly, I think they could go toe to toe. That would be sick. I want to see Beam and Rom fight monsters next, like actual monsters. You know?
You just want to see destroy all monsters again. You just want to see
Yeah.
Godzilla versus Kong. Like, there's no.
I want to see Beam and Rom versus the aliens. That
So
brought
you just want to see
Ghidorah
Big
to
Man
Earth.
Japan. So you liked Big Man Japan.
Yeah, I said that.
Okay.
I want to see Beam and Rom become
I
Big Man
didn't.
Japan.
I didn't say that.
Whoa.
Hmm.
I know it's very tricky because I don't know how to explain both these movies unless I say like they're just like fun movies. But I can, on one side in my head, I know that if I recommend RRR, I could recommend that to most people, and I know they're going to have like such a fun, beautiful time. Whereas Barbarian, I do think I'm taking a risk in recommending it to certain people. And that
Yeah.
sucks. I want to elevate those kind of movies because I really think they're great. And, you know, obviously, if you're listening, you guys have been listening, audience, I love horror, and I think it should be celebrated with the best of them. So I almost want to like root for the underdog in that way because it's like, oh, I want to shine a light on something that is really, really beautiful filmmaking. But if you're doing like on a technical aspect, toe to toe with this behemoth that is RRR, 3-hour movie that's like the spectacle is spectacle is spectacle, it's hard to refute that. And so I just don't know where to go in my head of like, you know, championing this beautiful horror movie that's very fun, very scary, but very like well thought out, to this like epic, and all the words of epic, this, you know, international, for us in the US at least, film that just like continues to be such a bright spot in the feats that it made, and continues leveling itself up. Like it's insane.
So something I think is interesting to touch on a little bit, and it may be tangentially related to your comment, Alex, about your brother tweeting it about the RRR and then getting caught up in a storm of Indian nationalism, I guess, is something I don't think we were able to really capture the first time we talked about this movie, is truly like what a big deal it is from like a Telugu like film perspective. Like RRR is essentially like a made up, I mean every title's made up, but like it is a crafted title like around the initials of the director and its two leading stars. Like that's how big a deal the three of them getting together to make a movie was. And like that's wild. The cultural context surrounding RRR has been something very, very interesting to me that I've become like much more in tune to since the last time we talked about this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, in some ways for good and bad, like it's very cool to like see what is essentially like a clashing of some of the biggest stars in India, and just like what kind of excitement and buzz that generates is so cool. Like watching like live theater reactions of like
really
RRR
good.
is like it is hard to state like how wild it is. Like people learned the dance from Natu Natu from like the promotional trailers that were released for this film so that they could do the dance in the theater along with the movie. That's insane.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Then like conversely, I think there is this interesting element of like clearly it is like a very nationalistic film. And like how nationalism can be co-opted in any context is like pretty tricky. Which I think is really fascinating in like how, like I don't know the specifics of what your brother's tweet was or what was, you know,
I think I know now.
tweeted out at him.
Yeah.
But I think like that is like a very interesting like piece of this whole story as well. Like
Yeah.
You know, these
Well,
are they play two figures from like actual Indian history,
yeah.
essentially creating a fanfic about them. Like, that's wild.
Well, I know we talked about it when we first talked about RRR, but I think it's worth mentioning now in the Oscars bracket. Literally, for those who didn't listen to it or listening fresh, it's also super interesting and adds another layer that, you know, as a country, you get one movie you're able to put forward and represent your country to be qualified, to be potentially qualified for the Oscars. And India did not choose RRR against like everyone's thought that they would. They did some remake of Cinema Paradiso, and it didn't get picked. And RRR is their only kind of like it's not representing India. It's the American producers, you know, put together money and were able to at least get it nominated for Best Original Song, and that's all they could afford. And India didn't want it to represent them, and that's also interesting if you're talking about, you know, Bollywood and the machine like that. You're talking about like, okay, how different people respond to a movie about like two very real people in India's like history, and this revolutionary like aspect, and it didn't want to get represented. And maybe, I mean, maybe I would love to do even more research on it and see like how people in India really felt about it, because maybe we're like loving it and feeling like it's great and it's all this time. Maybe there's stuff behind the scenes that it was a very clear decision not to include it.
Yeah, I think there's like, that's like one of the really, really interesting angles in, again, like being an American looking at cinema from other countries.
Yeah.
Like, cultural context can be like really hard to fully understand or fully follow without like deep diving into it. And, you know, to Jake's point, like, I wish I just understood better. Like, clearly it's a really big deal as a film, but there's like this fact that it is like a Telugu movie rather than a Bollywood movie. And, you know, it had to be dubbed over in Hindi.
Right.
Like, that
Yeah,
like
that's
all
true.
add to like, you know, how this was dealt with culturally, which I think is just really fascinating.
Yeah, and it's very interesting on the other end with Barbarian. Honestly, like that's literally about like, you know, like Hollywood and the system, and like the like we can understand that right away what they're getting at, both with like celebrity, with like male, you know, fucking getting away with like anything or feeling untouchable, or, you know, what it means to like be afraid and alone, like as a woman, like, you know, renting something simple as an Airbnb, or like that one scene where like you're finally out of the house and you kind of like turn the camera and you see the neighborhood finally in the daytime,
dilapidated.
and, you know, talking about Airbnb and stuff. And that's a very American like fear. I feel like that's a very, it's understandable right away. It's like you get it, and it's like, but that's because we're watching it as Americans. Those are like our issues and our problems.
Like that's super cool. Like, clearly, like the idea of like social horror and like a person being in a space that like they're not supposed to be is like inherently uncomfortable. But there's like so much additional cultural context related to Barbarian and like how we interact with society. Like, you know, like cultural, like, or like like redlining and like Detroit and the dilapidation, like, are all like such specific like American cultural touchstones that like those additional pieces of context are going to be lost on other viewers. Like it's wild. I guess is when you like try to take a step back and look at two really good films, and the ways in which they are like touchstones of their respective cultures, which is like obvious that that's always going to be the case, but like very cool to kind of compare and contrast.
What were you saying, Alex?
I just said
Oh, okay.
Aww, it was so
it was very cute.
I just like listening to you guys. You guys are giving like such good, like thoughtful insight. I love being a fly on a wall here.
No, I just love these movies. It's
tough. It's really tough.
It's tough.
They're brilliant in, you know, like to the idea of spectacle, kind of similar ways, but like as films, like fundamentally very, very different ways.
Yeah, from a technical aspect, like both these films are just like really, really great and well
super
done,
well made,
and I
think
a lot
of love involved in them.
Yeah, I think it's so hard because do I vote for the big spectacle, really, really well done? Like, I love this movie. Like, thinking about how it even got made, or even just like being on the set those days, are like insane to me. Or do I vote for like the, you know, this like smaller like horror movie that really like, in my opinion, like elevated the genre that year as like being a creative like horror movie, and it still was able to capture such specific and good feelings, like in this smaller scale idea. And like I love that, like as a filmmaker, if you don't have the budget that RR had, you don't have all these things, like to really really make a chilling like movie in a really fun way.
Well,
It's hard.
I'll tell you. We're pushing time, so I
Yes,
think you might have to make a decision.
Gotta
here.
vote.
Well, I don't gotta
does
make it
anyone wanna-
first.
Yeah, anyone want to start?
I mean, you know what? You do have to start, Jake.
Okay, I'll start.
Ooh, Jake gotta go first.
Jeez, man. Okay, I think we say this all the time, but any day of the week I would have picked the other movie. Genuinely, that's how I'm feeling right now, especially after talking about them, with everything being said and the cultural significance and just how much fun it had and how they both build in different ways. But I think for me, for the Oscars bracket, what I felt like deserved more love and limelight, it's very hard but I think Barbarian didn't even get talked about in the conversation. And I still think as Oscars in general, horror needs to be way more represented. You can't just keep giving it to Jordan Peele, even though I love him. Give me more horror. I'm voting for Barbarian.
Yeah, I can follow us up. Sort of similar reasoning. There is something I think incredibly special about RRR, and like it's been so cool to see people try and giving it a lot of the credit it deserves. And I mean, honestly, it should be, in my opinion, even more. I think it deserved actual nominations. I think that there were
100%.
lots of snubs. So with that, I'm going to vote for RRR.
That means it all comes down to me. This is fun. I feel like I usually vote first, so this is fun for me.
You're normally so settled.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I did know what I wanted to vote for this time, but I wanted you guys to get your thoughts out first, so that way I
Oh,
didn't
damn.
influence you this time. I am voting for Barbarian here.
Whoa!
I think both of these are fantastic movies, and I think both deserve to be talked about. But I think I want to vote for Barbarian here because we already talked about RRR. I know that, like, we can always like do them multiple times. This is the first
Matthew's
time.
gonna fucking kill me, man.
This is the first time we've had a movie in a bracket where truly it's the like exact same movie again. You know, like we did Fellowship of the Ring twice, but it was the regular versus the extent. Like the regular one was kind of the first one, and then the extended edition was the second time.
Matthew's
So,
gonna fucking murder. He's
Matt,
looking at me
I
with
love
so
you.
much
I
hate.
love RRR. I truly do, but I feel like Barbarian deserves to be talked about too, and we've already talked about RRR. I think they're both wonderful. I think outside of the context, I have no idea which one I would vote for.
He's got
that context here.
Find a way to
That's where I
vote
am.
somehow.
Yep, gotta vote somehow.
Yeah,
Mm.
well, I respect the reasoning of Barbarian deserves to be talked about. I don't respect you being an icky little boy.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry,
Look, genuinely
Daddy.
though, like I do mean this, and I know we're pushing on time, but also the next matchup is a silly little time anyway. But
Jeez, Jake.
I genuinely believe if RRR was actually nominated in its categories that I think it deserves to be, like get rid of Avatar, get rid of it. If you swap it with RRR, I think Best Picture is a conversation to be had with it. I think Best Director, like I think so many, it deserves so many different rewards, or at least to be up against it to make it like
It should be part of the conversation.
it should be part
I
of the
think is, like,
conversation. And
that is basically my piece on it.
100%. No, I'm with you 100% on that. And
Do I think it deserves to sweep the Oscars? Not necessarily. But I think it is such a spectacular and a very, very special movie.
Yeah.
You don't get a lot of like true spectacle films.
yeah, get rid of Avatar. I agree with you, Matthew.
Wanna know what's crazy?
You haven't really caught
Why?
up on that.
Why is Avatar for Best
Nominated?
Picture?
I
Yeah,
don't
why is Avatar nominated for Best Picture and not Best Adapted Screenplay if Glass Onion is adapted screenplay because it's a sequel?
Well, it could be
That's
both.
dumb as hell.
It could be both. You can
No,
do
I
it.
know, but why it's Avatar isn't for Best Adapted Screenplay?
Yeah, because the screenplay sucks because it's off.
Okay, we are in the weeds here. We got to move on. So Barbarian advances, which there's so much more that we barely scratched the surface on. So really excited to keep talking about that.
Who
and
did
the
it?
time comes.
Well, we can
Morbius
start with my
versus
pitch.
Bullet Train.
I can talk about Bullet Train to start. Bullet
You say
Train,
my pick as if you didn't pick Morbius.
Well, because I picked Bullet Train, and we all know in the
Hmm.
first round our picks don't go up against each other, so it could not have been me.
Oh my god.
It-
The
This is
logic
another
impeccable.
whodunit, and it wasn't me. Bullet Train. Uh, Brad Pitt's an assassin, but he doesn't want to be doing it. And there are a bunch of other assassins on this train, and he's got to steal a briefcase, and that's a good mission. But then it turns out there's a whole bunch of people on there that he's got to kill to get that briefcase. And also, Michael Shannon shows up at the end.
Thank you. That was important.
This movie is such a fun time. Directed by David Litch. My dad watched this movie on an airplane and told my mom, hey, it's really good. You have to watch this movie on our next airplane. And she did. And then we were all together. And then they were like, hey, have you guys seen Bullet Train? You have to watch Bullet Train. And then I didn't watch it. And then like a month or two later, I was looking for something to watch on Netflix. It was like a Wednesday night. And Marina and I were like, hey, what if we watch Bullet Train? And we did. And I just had such a good time with it. Also, Joey King is in it, and I thought it'd be funny to make Matt watch this one. So here we are. Jake, what'd you think about Bullet Train?
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought up Joey King because I genuinely believe that Matthew's gonna love this movie. So I'm really glad that you.
Oh, you get to you make
Oh,
him
yeah, I
talk
forgot-
first. you
I forgot
fucking
to mention
stupid
it's
ass.
also like a surprisingly good like play on like the samurai like sword fighting kind of thing. Like it's a good time. It plays with the form a bit. Sorry.
Yeah, let's talk about Joey King. So I just feel like I just watched this movie and I think, oh, this is so Matthew coded. Like he's like, it's gonna be so hard because like how does he not vote for Joey King every time here?
Matt is like shaking his fist in anger.
I want to wring
This
your
is his
goddamn
anger
neck out.
episode. Matthew's like so angry at like in this whole episode. I am very glad I don't live in the same place as you in this moment because I fear for what you would do to my body. Yeah, actually, so Bullet Train is an interesting movie because when I first saw the trailer for it, I was like, that looks fun as hell. Like I was completely on board. And then I had some friends who watched it before me, and they hated it. They did not have a good time. Absent Joey King. They love the Joey King sections. Great. Inspired. But, so then I was like, okay, whatever's going on, blah, blah, blah. I'll watch it because typically, honestly, audience, I tend to just like every movie I see. It's very far in between that I don't like a movie for at least something. Fuck you, Avatar. But, the first one, I never saw the second one.
I
but-
heard it's the same thing.
But like, I had fun. I had fun with this movie. I mean, there are some parts that are just ridiculous. Like spoilers, we're rooting this film, but like Bad Bunny having a whole backstory, then dying right away. You just got to take that in with it. You just got to roll with the movie that way. Zazie Beetz appearing at the end. I love Zazie Beetz. That's my homegirl. We love her. Shout out 9 Days from a previous Oscar bracket.
Yeah.
But I can't tell if I like this movie or if it feels sometimes like it was made just to be like memeable. Does that make sense? Like it feels like they just put a bunch of like fun specific people in this movie and then just kind of like I don't know. I don't know how to feel. I had fun. I had fun. I can't say I didn't like it, but if I really watch this movie again and I'm like, I don't know how to feel. Like I think I like individual things about it like a lot, or like some scenes I'm like, oh, that was fun, that was funny, and then I'm just like, wait, what? Yeah, but so okay, now we got that out of the way. Matthew, please let us know about how much you love Joey King.
Jake, I feel like you're sabotaging this movie.
It is so unfair that you asked Jake to speak first.
I was really hoping. I was like crossing every single like bodily part that I had.
So this movie, Jake made the comment, this is really Matthew coded. And I want to punch you in the fucking throat because You're not the only one who thinks that. I've had probably like 5 people independently reach out to me and be like, oh, I think you would really like Bullet Train.
Let the record show, whenever I watch a movie, I always text you to watch it if you like it, and I didn't do that with Bullet Train. So I am not one of the 5. You are welcome.
I had a great time with Bullet
Yes!
Train. I was sitting there like, oh my god, this is so much fun. Like it
Nice.
reminds me of a lot of specifically, like it's a pretty witty movie, and you get some witty, goofy folks and some like a riff on like the Ronin genre and like well choreographed fight scenes.
Yeah, it's very
Fuck,
true.
dude.
David Leitch, I mean, he's a good.
It's so unfair, and the reason it's unfair is like I would be perfectly happy to really, really like this movie. But Jake is such a conniving little villain, and he's like, oh, Matthew just really is Joey King's in this movie, and that's why Matthew's gonna like it because he likes Joey King. And the stupidest fucking thing is like, okay, yeah, Joey King apologist. Like, I think she can be a good actress, and here we are, and she's being a pretty good actress. So like, I can't even say I'm like vindicated because you're just gonna be like, oh, you like stinky little nerd, you just like Joey King, and I'm like, I want to beat you up so bad because like I genuinely think she does a really good job. And this movie is really fun.
Right. So
I liked it.
Are we talking about Bullet Train or Wish Upon? Which one are this?
I'm gonna do a Joey King bracket just so I can finally prove to you why the movies she's in are shitty and why it's not her fault.
There it is, folks. There it is.
He finally comes out.
He literally just showed his Joey King tattoo like it was the Dark Mark in Harry Potter. I wish you guys could have seen it.
Yeah, so I like this movie a lot. I think it's really, really fun. I think there's a lot to like about it. I think there's also a lot of things that aren't. They're like, it is not a perfect film. There's some like wacky pacing stuff going on. They have a lot of characters that they like try and make super distinct for the purpose of like, you got to be able to tell all these characters apart. And then like a third of them they kill very
like right away
showing
too.
off.
Yeah, justice for Logan Lerman, man.
which is like, I don't know, kind of fun in its own way. It's a very interesting film. But with that said, it's going up against something, and we have to figure out who the hell pitched Morbius.
Okay, who did it?
I feel like Morbius pitched Morbius. I feel like he crawled into our brain.
What do you mean Morbius pitched Morbius?
Michael
Morbius is a character, Jake. He doesn't exist in the real world.
Look, I know I've told you that he can't hurt you, but it's actually Joey King that doesn't exist, and Michael Morbius is very real.
Here's the part where you edit like a, I don't know, crashing sound effect or something, Alex. I wrote up a little thing, like maybe text to speech we'll use, or I don't know, we'll run it through a voice changer or something, but I'm going to read it to you guys so you can, I don't know, react accordingly, I suppose.
I'm here.
LMAO, it is me, Mr. Michael Morbius. I'm gonna morb all over this podcast.
No!
Because I'm going to kill the Tough Cut if they don't talk about my movie on their podcast.
Jesus Christ.
Which is the 3rd best movie podcast of all time.
Is he plugging us? Is he? Do we?
Okay, wait. I feel like I know who wrote this now.
My movie is about me, Mr. Michael Morbius, being the smartest, most special boy in the room. But I have a blood disorder.
That's one of the greatest butts in history that I've ever heard.
Okay, wait, sorry. I accidentally deleted it for a second, but we're back. But I have a blood disorder. I make myself half bat, And my best friend, who is also super smart, who I call Milo, whose real name is Lucian, wants to be Bat Boys forever. But I say no. Then we fight, and the CGI looks like shit, and then he dies. But also my girlfriend becomes a vampire too somehow. Then the Vulture shows up through a portal, and we become best friends. My movie wasted millions of dollars because my dumb studio was tricked into returning it to theaters because of some memes. LMAO, we got them good. I was snubbed for every Oscar, so hopefully I'll win a Tough Cutie Award this year.
Oh, wait, that was really sweet at the end. He really
That's
pandered.
really cute. Wow, Michael, thank you.
He really pandered.
Um,
Anyway, so I'm voting for Morbius.
Yeah, I cannot believe Morbius is on this podcast. We had to watch it.
Honestly, okay. To give credit to Morbius, which is a sentence, it might be r/brand new sentences, but like to give credit to Morbius, the fact, and you touched on it, Morbius, thank you for showing up, by the way. You touched on it in your description. The sheer fact that people bullied a whole studio into re-releasing such a shitty film is inspiring. It's dangerous. It's so dangerous, and it's very scary, but it's like the equivalent of bullying Sonic, right?
Yeah.
It's bigger. I feel like it's bigger than bullying Sonic.
Not labor-wise, but...
That's true.
In terms of the cost of putting this back in like thousands of theaters across the company.
What idiots.
I don't understand how they thought that was going to be a good move.
One of my favorite jokes I've ever heard about Morbius, and I just want to share it now, is A24, more like A20 for Morbius, please. Anyway, that's all I got. That's all I got. You guys continue. Take it away from here.
That's good. That's a good one.
Yeah, I guess, what did we think of this movie? Oh God. It's weird. Like, I think everyone knows Morbius just kind of just bad. Like, it sucks. But the thing is like,
I hope we have a Morbius fan out there. God, I hope we do.
set this podcast on fire.
Can we find the one?
Is like, it's not like bad in a fun way. I think it's kind of the heart of it.
It's not funny
It is
bad. It's
hard
just
to
bad.
get through. It's
hard.
Just,
So we did Best of the Worst DCEU with collaboration with Good Kraken.
mm-hmm.
And
Shout out
something
Good
we touched about a little bit there is like I think this most reminds me of like Green Lantern. Like, it's not like a funny bad movie. It's not like a good time to like watch how bad it is and get mad at it. You're just kind of bored. Like,
yeah.
And that was pretty much my experience watching this. Like, I took a whole bunch of notes, but most of them are just like, wow, this movie thinks I'm a absolute moron, and it's just not good.
What a movie to like spit in the face of its viewers and then decide, hey, you want more of this shit, and put it like
That's
what the hell?
When they re-released this in theaters, they should have cut the post-credit scene. Like,
oh my god, yeah, but that's when they didn't know what. That's a whole other conversation about Marvel and their jumping the shark of multiverse shit. That's a whole other conversation. But Jesus Christ,
you're putting the cart before the horse, there, my man.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you guys think of this one?
Oh, I loved it. No,
Morbius apologist.
I can't even joke about it. Like I literally like I've said, I like to watch movies. I like to stay up to date with all the pop culture. Like I watch it all the time.
You watch Morbius all the time?
Yeah, I watch
frequently.
Morbius
He keeps
all
watching
the time. Morbius is me what Joey King is to Matthew. Anyway,
I'm so mad at you.
Yeah, this is the one where I piss Matthew off in multiple levels. But I didn't watch this movie, and I avoided it for all this time. And honestly, the fact that it did come out last year is insane to me. It feels like a lifetime ago where Morbius Mania, Morbius Sweep was happening. And I feel trapped. I feel trapped by it. It is not a fun time. There is nothing endearing about this movie. I'm also so tired of Jared Leto. Burn it with fire.
Yeah. He got to get out of the comic book movies.
He got to get out in general.
Hey, he's living on his island, I think, right?
Yeah, maybe that's why he does it.
Is he the one who bleached his asshole?
Probably. I mean, isn't he like he
Huh,
runs like a
wait.
cult or something now?
A lot of people bleach their asshole.
Wasn't there a celebrity who missed that COVID started or something because they were in the desert bleaching their asshole?
Oh.
Am I making that up?
I think you're making up the second half, but the desert one is true. I don't know where you're getting the asshole stuff from. You might look at Jared Leto and just say, oh, he looks like he has a bleached asshole, and maybe that's where it is.
Maybe.
Yeah. So here's my thing about Morbius. I didn't pitch it, but I put a note to our group being like, someone should do Morbius because I thought it would be funny to talk about, and I was wrong.
You were wrong. You were wrong.
So
it's just bad.
I hadn't seen it. I'm sorry that I asked us to talk about it, even though it was not one of my two picks.
You really, you know, there's this weird thing that happens when you like commit a crime and you just keep saying like, well, I clearly didn't do it.
Well, I didn't. I only had two picks.
It
It was my turn.
Strange.
It also, my movies wouldn't go up against each other in the first round. Matt, don't you pin this on me, you bastard. I'm not going to edit the podcast. I'm not going to do the voice changer, and everyone's going to know.
Oh, God, please don't.
Whoa,
I didn't pitch it. I didn't do
there
it.
was a voice changer? What do you mean?
I didn't do it.
You're telling me it's Morbid time isn't real? Honestly, unironically, whoever made that tweet is responsible for so much damage to our society. But also...
And a film studio.
And a film... Like, I honestly, what if they sued? Like, is there grounds for that? Like...
No, I'm sure there's not.
There might be.
Because you tricked a bunch of terrible...
Well, if they could
execs.
sue about trailer houses for falsely, like, putting information, like...
Well, but I don't think they can sue someone on Twitter being like, I would go see Morbius again, and then not going to do it, you know?
Yeah, but they said it's more, like...
It's
someone
time.
If It's Morbid Time was in the movie, unironically, I might vote for it. Like, this is...
Honestly, it was one of those things where, like, watching it, I didn't know if it was part of the movie or not.
Yeah.
Like, I was kind of waiting for it, but I didn't know.
Like, it's obviously a shitpost, but, like, you watch the movie that's so bad, you're just like, you know what? I hope the shitpost is real. Like, you're rooting for it.
We were doing, like, a production call for one of the episodes, and I remember you mentioning, Alex, because you were the first one to watch this movie, being like, I, like, half expected it to actually show up. Like, you're like, it's kind of weird. They don't ever say it's Morbid time.
Yeah.
Like, that's how effective the memes were for this. Like, people were all victims.
Yeah.
This podcast is a victim.
Yeah, I feel held hostage. I said it in the beginning, I'll say it again. I feel held hostage.
We're approaching time because, you know, that's life. But
We're
here's what I'll...
Morbid time.
Here's what I'll pose to the group. You and your boy are dying of a rare blood disease or blood disorder.
Classic scenario.
You become a sick-ass vampire. You turn your boy into a vampire, or you say, nah, you can die from your blood disorder.
Vampire, 100%.
Also, actually, no, it's literally not worth, like, posing questions. Because I'm like, he had two of the vile things, right? To kill, and it, like, was heavily implied he was going to use the one on himself to be like, I don't want to be a monster. But then he just, like, he's just like, I'm gonna be a monster now.
You know,
it's like, that's the problem with Morbius, is like, this whole movie is just like, no, this is the good Morbius, and then his friend Milo's the bad Morbius, and then the movie ends, and he's like, I'm a villain, and I'm teaming up with the Vulture, and it just makes absolutely no sense. I'm going to vote, because I don't want to talk about Morbius anymore. It is not Morbid time.
Yeah, I know it's our job to, like, talk about movies and all that stuff, and, like, that's what we're doing, but, like, genuinely, when I heard you guys start talking about plot shit in Morbius, I'm like, no, it just
Dude just zoned out.
It doesn't matter. Like, it's bad.
Why did Martine come back? Why did she become a vampire? I don't understand.
Like, why do they make these, like, movies, these spin-off villain movies for, like, Spider-Man in a separate universe and like, shut up. No one cares about Morbius.
Hey, he name dropped Venom. That was sick, right, guys?
Do you guys think that anyone's re-recorded the song "Closing Time" but doing Morbid time?
It's Morbid time.
Okay, I think maybe we do an edit ourselves, and that's our closing credits for this one.
Morbid time.
Alex, vote.
I'm voting for Bullet Train. It's not even close.
Matthew.
Yeah, I can go next.
Why do you sound torn?
No, I'm not torn. It's more just I know, like, oh, that's why Matthew. Like, I'm voting for Bullet Train, but it's gonna be like, why is Matthew voting for Bullet Train? Is it because Joey King? And I'm like, no. Like,
So-
I just like the movie.
I'm really glad I tricked Matthew into going next so I could go last. And my vote is going to be actually for Morbius, so I can hold it against him that I didn't vote for Joey King and he did. So, a vote
Wake
for
up in a
Morbius.
cold sweat tonight. Be like, I cannot believe Jake baited me so hard on this stupid podcast.
So now you are a Joey King supporter and you cannot throw it back on me. And you love her. And Joey King is moving on to our next round.
Bullet Train is moving on. It will face off against Barbarian. And then
That's
you can
fun.
also catch Banshees of Inisherin versus Everything Everywhere all at once. So next episode should be a lot of fun. This was
Yeah,
the
that's really
chaotic
fun.
episode, I think. I hope.
That's really fun. I feel like we've got like a real, like the officials Oscars matchup, and then our own like fanfic.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly. And you know what? Who knows? Very fun.
Yeah, it's going to be...
And by the
It's gonna
time
be
you're
good.
listening to this, guys, we'll know what won the Oscars. So
We'll also know which of the tough cut predicted the Oscars the best.
that's true. That is true. All right, you get one swap. What is it?
One of the ones where I didn't say Everything Everywhere All at Once, I'm gonna switch to say Everything Everywhere.
Yeah,
All
I was
at
going to
Once.
say, you guys definitely, you're losing
I'm
some
gonna-
points with that, for sure.
Goes my big one, Stephanie Sue for Best Supporting.
Whoa, God, I hope that's real. That'd be insane.
Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna do that too.
She just killed it.
She's killed it, but I think politics is going to keep her away from that Oscar. But
And I hope it doesn't.
yeah, that's very true. Mine is, I hope Joey King wins. All right.
I'm gonna I know
What are
where
you gonna
you
do?
live. I've
What are you
been to
gonna
your
do?
house.
I know he's